This is the Dr. DJ podcast coming to you tonight on this Wednesday night. I have another special guest here for me today. I would like to say this, or decide specifically how I want this person to be described. This is family, but this is Miss Ife Gardin, someone who is a spiritual warrior, mentor, supportive, active in the art space, and really has a large passion for allowing people to discover themselves. We work together on other different projects. I will kind of get to that in the beginning or later on, but also just recognizing having individuals that have that particular spirit, that they have this ability to connect with other individuals. And so this podcast, Unscripted, has always been a space about self-discovery. And I think last week we talked about partnering ourselves with individuals that share that same kind of spiritual energy. And so I am appreciative that you had the time to grace this little thing that we do, this unscripted thing that we're doing with your time. And so I give you opportunity to introduce yourself, and then we could talk more about the questions, the topics at hand.
Okay. Well, I want to say I appreciate you. My nephew.
Pronouns.
Pronouns. From another family. Anyway, that's I am a cultural curator. That's why I like to say I curate cultural experiences for people, not just events. So I am the founder of Culturally Lit, and Culturally Lit is a celebration of literary arts and the arts of the African diaspora. And I love to, as you mentioned, I appreciate it too. I love nurturing and fostering other people's visions and dreams, right? And helping folks to launch. Because so many artists and people in creative spaces are so unsure, especially when they start out. And I imagine entrepreneurs as well. Like, you have this vision, you have this idea, you probably quit your job or start doing something else, and people don't understand where you're coming from. And the people that don't understand where you're coming from are usually folks that are not leaving their job and are safe in that space.
So I gotta put that into a box. So you talk about the sacrifice that people make, and high probability they quit their job, but you as a curator, before I get to the idea what makes you great, and I know you are great at what you do as a curator, what made you find this as a vehicle?
After always had a passion for the arts and creativity, and of course, and read books for lifetime, like love books and literature. An aspiring writer, because I still haven't published anything yet, but I'm writing. And just working in so many spaces and feeling frustrated about not being able to be myself, to fully encompass all that I am. So, my birth name is Michelle, which I love. It's a nice name. And
I'm Donald.
And as I evolved as a person in my creative space, I became Ife. Actually, when I was looking for a name for my daughter, I came across the name Ife in several West African dialects in several West African countries, and every time I saw it, it meant love of something, love of creativity, love of culture, and I was like, that's me. I'm going to add that to my life, and that's how I want to live it out. So the older I got, the more I wanted to do in that space and not be constricted to an ideal, which, wasn't like there are still friends, family, people I love that still say, well, what exactly do you do? And when are you getting a job? Or do you have a job? Or does that pay? And it's like, and they come to Lit Fest or the things that I create. They've been coming to the celebrations for years and still like don't understand, like that just don't happen. You got to plan it. It is a job. But I stop explaining it to them and just be like, yeah, I do some other things too.
So I'm smiling. So I'm gonna ask my first question. That's not on my chart.
Okay.
You've already kind of expressed it. Like you are a lover of
All things creative.
not just that,
Creating.
but so this is we always think about like just not the topic that bounds us, but also just that person's like essence. You are very holistic in just how you move in general. And I say that as a contrast in recognizing spaces where it's like I don't need to keep explaining myself to individuals. So you have this kind of nice mesh and balance of I'm holistically loving, but I'm also direct in business. So when things need to get done, you just do that. I think about process. How did you find that process for you? And even connecting that to like when you decided to redefine who you are, define the name that you want to live in.
It was a culmination of all the experiences of jobs that I've had, because I've had a whole bunch of jobs. Like I'm 64, so most people my age are retiring from something or have retired in the past couple of years or something. And I don't ever see myself retiring. I see myself as always ever evolving. And so I find I've been, I want to say, blessed enough to be in spaces where I can make things, I can do what I want to make happen, right? I could be in a better place, like financially, because everybody doesn't always see like, oh, she ain't got this or she ain't got that. But I have peace. Like there are people that I know that have worked in their job and maybe retired after working someplace 30, 40 years. And they've had to use all their sick time. They've had to use their benefits to the med. They can't lose their benefits. They're taking a whole lot of medication. I'm grateful. I'm not putting it down because things happen in our lives. Things happen with our health. I'm grateful that I have not had to be in places or in spaces or when I recognize when some places getting too constrictive that I have to go. And while I was working in any of those spaces, I also had outlets. Like that wasn't just how I was defined. And I tell folks that, young people, that all the time, that are like, oh, I got to look for a job. Well, understand when you get that job, there may be people in that job that is their life. Mm-hmm. Some things that happen to us when we are on a job in a space is not personal. It is just because people don't have another life. And for people that are creative and entrepreneurial or have other things outside of that work, it gets difficult for the people that are in that job that is their existence. So when they retire, there's nothing left for them to do. I think that's sad in a way.
That the journey's over.
Yes, like it scares me for when people say I've reached my, like I don't have to do nothing else. Well, I ain't got to. I did this. And this is like, for me, I'll never peak. Because I'll always be looking for something, the next thing to do. And that's not easy for everyone to understand. And I feel like people that make their own living in however they do it have to, forever evolve and constantly evolve rather, and always create something. So people don't understand. They think that you start a business, oh, you got all this money. No, sometimes they living at that in that job, but they're following their passion. That is not something that our culture is used to. When you go to Europe, some European countries like like Italy, I guess, they have like 3-4 hour lunches.
So I'm gonna do this. So you say, and I think right now, like we listened to the song in the car. When you talk about like not just folks being not satisfied, or they're not you're not saying they're not avid learners, but they hit a point where like they're done.
Mm-hmm.
The song that we're listening to in the car, they give this line about I have a library of sunsets that I need to forget.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me think about when individuals had these particular plans about what they were going to do, what they wanted to fulfill, and who's leading that direction, who's leading the charge. Like, if you were mentoring, because also I'm going to say something after this, because I think that you are also in a very unique position that the institutions that I've always worked in always needed you. So when we think about creativity, self-discovery, and within our students, and the challenges and the barriers that they're trying to work through, that you provide this space of like, I'd rather you figure it out in a failure or a success than for you never to know what you could have been.
Yeah. So when, like, I don't like to say failure, like when the result isn't what you expected. A lot of times that crushes a soul. It makes people give up or not want to pursue it. And it's like the most successful people in the world have had losses, have had some things that were not so successful, but they kept at it. And there's few people that do that. I get gratification out of inspiring people to go to the next chapter. Okay, close that chapter, it's not easy. It's not easy for everybody. Everybody doesn't have that makeup. And people have responsibilities, and they have pressure, and it's like, wherever I've moved a lot of places as well. So wherever I live, I always make sure I create a community of folks that I like. So that's the other thing, because sometimes you have to understand where people are coming from, especially if you're sharing your visions or dreams or aspirations with folks that are close to you and they don't see it. I always say consider the source. Like, consider when somebody says, oh, that ain't gonna happen, you ain't gonna do this. If they're punching a clock and their life is that clock, they not gonna get what you're doing. They're just not, like, everybody does not have it. And it's like, we need all the things that everybody does, but understand where people are. So I advise folks or offer that they should look for folks that are doing what they want to do or have a vision that kind of aligns in what they're doing.
So this may sound like more like just abstract, but we had a conversation off camera. So the question I wanted to ask today, and I think it's not a perfect segue, but I think about people's progression process, making decisions, or even the younger folks that need like this social affirmation from whatever particular group that is their influence. When do you realize that a yes is a yes and that your yes needs to be no's? I can give more background for the audience, but
It's like, yeah, when you said that to me in the car, I was like, wow, that's just, in my mind, that's setting a boundary. That's, you know, and we are in women, I think, are more kind of guilty of this because they are, this culture is more about women
We unscripted.
being
We good.
pleasing. I know. I'm just coming to my mind. Like, but it's more about women being, taking care of everything. Like this is a good example. I had posted a few months ago, that I am not a queen, right? Like, okay, queens are rulers. Think about this. It's a ruler, right? King, queen rule. They got to make decisions. They got to, like, sometimes you got to punish people. And yes, we go through life like that.
Yeah.
But I would rather be an advisor or somebody that guides people and not a ruler over stuff.
Let me push on you.
Go ahead.
So I think I don't have an opinion either whether the ruler or advisor, but what I have opinion is saying that, like, to the point of the yes, and the yes is what I want, but you are called into this particular space where how you're defining a queen. I'm like, you do that. Like that's like, you might not want to call it that. You might not want it to be that, but you do that. So the question is like, if when is your yes because that's how I exist in this world. I mean, and whether it's my self-identification or how spaces, institutions experience me, I still focus on the process. Like, for the individuals, like, I want to be this. And I'll challenge them in saying, but why do you want to be this particular title when what you say you don't want or don't want to be as a title? I'm like, but you do that too. Because it doesn't have to be either then. It could just be an untitled thing that just exists.
Wow.
Because you do rule. Whether you like to be in the background, because I like to be behind the camera, whether I'm sitting here or not. Like to be in the behind space, but recognizing that, I mean, I consider our U.S. power is operated from folks that are just not in front of the space, but have this influence and impact where their name comes up in conversations that have nothing to do with any op-eds or any things that pop up on the paper. It's like that person is kind of orchestrating and ruling this particular space. That's just what's happening.
Yeah.
Their presence does that too. And I know your presence does that. So we just gotta.
Oh boy, does it. So with yes, when I thought about the yes, when the yes is a yes and
when the yes needs to be a no.
So, because I have evolved to a place of because people could yes themselves until they are overwhelmed because they want to be that thought of as that I got it all together. I don't have it all together, and that's why I was saying I posted that I wasn't a queen because I have evolved to a place now where I could say that's not in my bandwidth. People are like, oh yes, you can do this. I know you got no. I guide them to somebody else that I think that or recommend another person to do it. Or just say, it's not in my bandwidth. Like, I'm not going to do something that I get overwhelmed because I got a whole bunch of other stuff going on. If I can't fit it in, it's not going to get done. And so why overwhelm myself, disappoint somebody, not get the thing done or not complete the task or do anything. And then people are like, oh, you trifling, you this, you that. I have evolved to that, though. I have evolved to that from a place of, like I said, I'm 64, in my 30s, in my 40s, in my 20s, 30s, 40s, like saying yes to everything, taking everything on, and then crashing or something not getting done and disappointing people and myself, and then have to turn around and be humbled. And people don't like that.
So
You don't like to say, "Oh, I made a mistake. Oh my God," or you got to get somebody else to do this. And then as Black people, we'll work in a space where there's white people who will say, do you need help with that? You need help with that? And now I'm at the point where if they say that to me, it's like, okay, I'm apparently not doing this how you like it to be done. So you need to find someone else that will do it the way you need it to be done, because this is the end goal, and this is how I see it be. This is how I can do this and get it done in this amount of time. If you need to have it done in another way and quicker, then maybe you need someone else to do this.
So I think you bring up this great point that I've heard in the past week about what do leaders go through and what do they experience. So not just saying like right now, I don't have the bandwidth, because I think our part of, which we should have said in the beginning, this is the Dr. J podcast sponsored by LGBG, let God be God. And so part of that spiritual action is like, yeah, I don't got it. But is that my reason for making the pivot? Because I don't have it. So we another podcast we have had conversations about that's where faith begins, because that song that we listened to in the car, it said that moment of, I have a library of sunsets that I need to forget, which I'm internalizing. I don't know what the author wanted. I was saying like, what does it mean for me to relinquish this dream and idea of me because I need to do something else? And I asked the larger question of, what are the things that make me want to pivot to get out of this particular dynamic, because love you like that, because when I have been overwhelmed, I may not have pivoted. I needed someone to have a conversation with about like finding this particular entity that I didn't have, or finding the yeses and the nos where I said yes, because now I'm either operating on business, standing on merit, standing on pride, where I'm like, I have to finish this through, but I don't want to. I want to get rid of it. I don't want to be operating in this particular paradigm or whatever this idea that they have. But I think the sacrifice that individuals have to make with themselves of saying, I'm in here. Like, what is it? What is that? And I think I'm trying to figure out the best way for us to, like, I think you have that. We talk about evolution and evolving as individuals, or just perfecting my potential that I already have. Because I always see evolution as someone that when people talk about it, it's like this changing in identity, versus saying, did you just make what you do just the next level? Which the group that's there, they can't see that. They can't see that there was a change, or they in the spirit, they can experience the fact that a change happened. But I'm the same person. We took this potential to the next level, versus like, I meet a new person in a whole new season. And they brand new maybe for themselves, but in terms of their own, like, where is their alignment? Where are they supposed to be in terms of someone asked me a couple weeks ago, and I told him, I said, I have a number. I have a particular number that's in my head. It's not what the celebrities are and what TV shows. I have a particular number and a level of comfort that I like. It's not a mansion. It's not all these I don't need multiple cars. I have an idea of what life looks like. This is one of those sunsets that you have to say yes or no to, because God or life may not give you what you say your yes is, but I have to figure out, like, where are you at? I think that's part of the kind of this ethos for me, trying to figure that out.
And as you're talking about this, what I hear is prayer for self-preservation in your evolution, and patience, and trusting the process, which Sounds like a cliche because people say that, but they don't trust the process because they start panicking when it's not their process. Because who process is a higher person than us. It's a higher being than us. It ain't our process.
Over what's being
we can
overwhelmed.
plan all we want to, and we could go along with the plan that we have, but also, be ready for the evolution. Everyone is not ready. And the other thing is people are not open to being like getting outside of their circle, getting some help. Mm-hmm. Right? Psychiatrists, therapy has been booming since COVID. But people needed therapy before COVID.
Facts.
COVID just escalated.
Shout out to my therapist. I'm not going to say his name, though.
COVID just escalated stuff. And now even therapists need therapists. Like it takes months to get a therapist, to book somebody. And if there was this realization of this 20, 30, 40 years ago, we wouldn't have a whole generation of people talking about their, or we would, because this generational trauma is going to happen because everybody ain't right. Everybody ain't perfect, right? And people are going to carry some things with them. But a lot of people blame things on their generational trauma. And it's like, okay, it's up to the person to work that out. Because the generations before you did what they could to work through their trauma. Because ain't nobody excluded from generational trauma.
So I asked this, so in you recognizing time and space and mentoring and dealing with people, what are the barriers or structures that allow our people to prefer the pain over healing?
Man, it's a mindset. There are people that spend a lot of time in a church on the floor crying and crying.
That'd be me.
But also and doing praise dance and crying and blah. And just my belief, people, because I don't nobody like writing in.
Nah, you good.
She said.
Nobody, we gotta get no traction. Nobody writing in.
Okay. Doing all that, but I always seek joy. Like, people don't want to. Some people want to stay in it, and some people are crying to get through it, and some people are doing it to stay in it because you are asking the creator for the wrong things, maybe. You know what I mean? Saying, God, get me through this. Well, or instead of saying, can you show me? Or
asking the wrong questions.
Guide me through this period so I can get to the other side. I can get through this tunnel. I have some issues sometimes with some gospel songs. It'd be like, why me, Lord? Help me. Guide me.
So they're not asking the right. So I think personality wise, so for me, like someone that is always interested in warring. Worship is this place of work. But I'm saying some people avoid it. Say, all right, take this away. Or some people they lean in, and I think
and some of it is performative. That's the only way they get attention.
And I think
and
I think sometimes, and even to that point, like those that are performative to a larger societal space. What about those that are not in those larger societal space, but they performative at home in terms of not asking themselves the right questions to get themselves out of circumstance?
Mm-hmm. Because I ain't got the answer for everybody. I'm Donald. I do
no,
not.
But I love
everybody's answer for every. I can speak from
You tap in though.
my evolution, and I could tap into what I have received through my experience, my knowledge, and everyone has a different perspective because I ain't like
Would you say you a
perfect.
medium?
Oh gosh.
Not in that particular way, but the reality of like, I do believe that there are particular people that have blessings that are not conjuring, but they are conduits. Like they are this middle ground. They are a bridge. They make particular connect, or those particular connections happen for them, and so they're in this unique space that sometimes challenges the identities that they want to just maintain for themselves. We're saying like your purpose, you chose a purpose, but there was already one design.
I'd say there are times when I tap into some intuition.
Mm.
And I encourage people that ask me things to tap into their intuition, because there are times when folks come to you and they want to pour their heart out about something or talk to someone about something. And you just, you just want somebody to listen, not necessarily give you an answer. And again, I evolved to that because I used to be the kind of person that, like, as soon as you start talking about something, I'm going to the solution of it. That is not how leaders do. Leaders lead people in. Like I saw a meme or some kind of cartoon thing, maybe in the Atlantic or one of those magazines, something like that, that had like two ways of leadership. And it has somebody on the back of a boat cracking a whip on everybody's back. And then it had the other person at the front of the boat rowing with the biggest oars and encouraging everyone to come along. And I've had enough bosses.
Okay.
I've been in enough places to see the difference in that. And then so you make a choice of how you want to be individually in your journey. So yeah.
So what would your advice be for like this larger generation? So focusing on the present, the past, the future, like the folks that are in high school now, folks that you're dealing with in professionals in high school spaces, even professionals, because I understand that I've been on some different podcasts, male fellowships, and they talk about this idea of finding their manhood in their 40s and their 50s. So, and they were describing the idea of like, they would say, and they were testifying to saying that no one had a platform or a space to have this dialogue, and their discovery in terms of growth existed years beyond the time that they wanted. Not say time's wasted, it was experience, but they were like, I wish I would have known or grown into accountability and responsibility and not be so kind of driven by society, and not having some like, not having real rails, or having like creating my own social boundaries of like, like the yeses that need to be nos.
There's no template for a perfect evolution, right?
I'm gonna challenge you real quick.
Okay, I don't think there's a template. So I don't, like when you say it took them to their 40s or 50s to come into their manhood. Okay, like
I'm with. So I would
like I know men in their 60s that are still 12.
No shots. No
okay,
shots.
I ain't saying no names.
No. But I say that because what I always think for like, even for this show, the process. I could give things that I'm like, this was like an Exodus moment. Like this taught me, like, and I'm not saying everybody's sign, like my sign is not going to be that person's sign. But change is going to happen, whether that mine is at 30, whether it's going to be at 30 with my son or my daughter. So when the sign comes, and like also if I had to coach someone, I'm saying understanding your process, or also just spending more time with the individual to say like, I understand what your mental model is. I understand what your logic is. So these are the signs that you see. These are signs that you don't. This is where I can tell you where your blind spots are. You could probably tell me where my blind spots are in terms of just the conversation we have. I'm like, yo, D, like you're not. There's something you're missing here, not because for any other reason, but the reality is like when my signs show up, whether it be a bird flying in or something like that.
You have to see the signs, though. Everyone is not astute to that, right? Everyone is not as conscientious, and it's not something that, again, that has a template or has a way of being changed. I want to say that I believe there are more young people and even older people. Like, we're in a time where everyone is seeking their purpose. A lot of people are seeking their purpose. I can say everyone because everybody, again, I know some people that they like purpose. I'm here. Okay. Don't work that hard, but more people are seeking a more productive and purposeful life, right? So it's like a movement, but again, everybody's pieces of that is different, and how they move in this world is different. How they interact with folks is different.
So like I loved it. I love this, and I love this more so as therapy, counseling, or other sessions that we have, because now I want to pivot to the collaborative work that we already do with the Social Justice Institute or Social Reader Justice Institute program, where not just the program as an opportunity, because obviously we got our students now, but that level of everything we've discussed in terms of discovery, them finding, because that's why it's so simple. It becomes simple for us to sit in front of students and say, I'm having this, that, yes, they different. They're not me. But I can unpack the things that they have desires on. I can unpack why they desire this. I can unpack it and tell them how to do it differently. I could see them 5 years later and still unpack the new things that they want, which really helped me to think about this discovery, like you talking about as a reader. Every book has a new journey.
Chapter. A lot of chapters.
And we see it, and we can see it as it lives on them. Not just the fact that they're just talking about it as something that's performative. It's like, you look like you live in some of this. You know what I'm saying? What you thinking?
Like, it's interesting because this is the third year of that program, and in the first year, initially, I didn't want to participate in it because the institution is basically all white institution. They've been trying to integrate, but they have not been able to, just of how they are in their existence. And there are a lot of times when white people just don't have to interact with black people. So when they do, they are either too anxious or they have a certain expectation in their head. So I was just feeling that way about that institution. So when I was approached about this program happening, because of my background in doing a whole lot of things, I was hesitant. And then I thought, they're going to do it anyway. And I don't want to see any young people be harmed in the process.
You can get harmed trying to find your passion.
You can. Well, see, and then I also know that people, after George Floyd incident happened, It was just one of so many incidents, but this one, for some reason, had all these traditionally white organizations and schools and everybody making this statement. Everybody created their DEI statement, because we got to let people know that that's not us. We didn't condone that. Okay. So I was on a board for an organization that created a statement, and they sent it around the board. I didn't, they wanted us to agree, everybody to sign off on the statement. I didn't sign off on the statement. So the director of the board at the time was a white male. And in the board meeting that we had, because they wanted to present it, they put it out there in their communication, and they needed the full board approval of it. I did not feel like I had to approve a DEI statement because I'm a Black woman. Like, I feel like, why I got to say, y'all say it.
Mm-hmm.
So in the meeting, he says, well, we have this statement, we did, and not everyone is signed off on it, and we can't send it out to everybody signed off on it. I was just like, if you're talking about me, I just said what I just said. I am a Black woman. I don't understand why I have to sign off on your diversity, equity, and inclusion. I live a life of not trying to, like any Black person in this country, in the world somewhat, because everybody got their levels of racism. As we are born in this country, we have to deal with that. Like, equity and inclusion has been how we are living our lives, what we do when we apply for a job or go to school or have just in existence. So I don't feel like I got to apologize when I know this ain't going to change nothing. If that makes you all feel better, put the statement out. Don't wait on me to do it. Or do you want me to step off the board so you could just have the full board thing? Because there were Black people on that board that signed it.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of that being discovery, for like in your experience, and so you decided to come back.
That's one of no, but that wasn't this organization. This was somebody else.
Yeah.
But with this particular one, with these children that are being mentored, I decided to stay on the first year I was a mentor, and just observed. I mentored a young person who did very well. She's at UConn with a scholarship.
Congratulations! Shout out to UConn.
Okay, and then the others, then the person that was, and mind you, in the first year when they were launching this program, they had not one, not two, but three people. Two people quit before the program got launched, and they finally got the third one, and then that person quit. So in the second year, they just asked me to take on. I was like, okay. Because I understood what the previous people had gone through. Mm-hmm. And they didn't have the experience to navigate. They did not yet have the experience or patience to navigate a system that was created, a program that was created from a system of people that were not of color, mm-hmm. that want to do something good, but also expect some performative stuff, right? So when somebody comes in young and they ready, because things look good on paper, and when somebody comes in and they want to implement that, they're like, that's a wonderful idea, but can we just suggest this, or can we help you do this or this? So, and then I go back to what I said earlier about, this is how I'm going to do it.
It's true.
You want this to get done, this is how I'm going to do it. And so what we do, if you want it another way, then let me know.
So now that we're actually doing this, and I just kind of, I know we're wrapping it up, I want to give you opportunity to kind of talk about all the things you're doing, but also I'm gonna say like we have high expectations of what we've already seen from their like original drafts. You do have
Yeah, I mean, but that's it. Like the first year was a learning year, right? Well, I was a mentor, and they went through the 3 people quickly because people left abruptly. The second year got kind of molded. This year was great because they had more students apply. Last year we took everybody that applied. It was only 8 kids. They did whoever applied, we took because that's what they had the funding for. This year, more people applied, and it was a more selective process. Unfortunately, we couldn't take everyone like we wish we could, but it was a process for the committee, as you know. And now we're moving forward with it. And that's something that like is not my main role. In like, it's one of the things I do, but my main thing is culturally lit.
Got you. So outside of our social justice project, hopefully New Haven TED Talk, please give us a call. Please send me a message. It'd be a great opportunity to highlight
I think that people that did New Haven TED Talk left town.
No. They still
else.
They still reach out though.
Okay.
Well, I mean, those individual people might have been going, but I think they still reach. Either or, if somebody want to do a TED Talk New Haven or TED Talk Dixwell or TED Talk Whaley Avenue,
let's go.
It's perfectly fine. It's an opportunity. We have students that are prepared and ready, but also I want to give you an opportunity to talk about all the other stuff that you're doing right now, so that we can put it in front of people as we get ready to go into this holiday and this new spring season, because we want presents.
So what I am excited about is that Culturally Lit is in 2024 is going to be August 2nd, 2024 is James Baldwin's 100th birthday. So Culturally Lit, Elm City Lit Fest, and DiasporaCon as a arts organization with a focus on literary arts is doing a series of events celebrating all of James Baldwin, everything that he encompassed, all the things. And so we will start on January 20th. I just confirmed that today. At a place called The Bricks in Hamden, we'll have a launch event that will announce the events that we're doing on January throughout the year, and give people an opportunity to find out more about Culturally Lit and their program and the programming that we do. We will have on January 29th, Monday night, at the Mitchell Library in Westville, Harrison Street, a film and discussion, a film about James Baldwin, I Am Not Your Negro, and discussion with Eric Clemens, who is a Baldwin aficionado.
Gotcha.
And others. And we'll have monthly Baldwin book talks at Possible Futures. The dates are on Possible Futures' website. Culturally Lit's website is being redone, reorganized, updated in a lot of ways. And then September 7th, we're having our Lit Fest, which will feature a lot of panels and Baldwin-esque things. We will also have some workshops, because last year at Elm City Lit Fest, we announced the inaugural New Haven Poet Laureate, Charmant Influencer Life Little. And he'll be doing some workshops, some poetry workshops around Baldwin. So we got, and there'll be more stuff.
So understanding that you like to be behind the scene, if people wanted to reach out to you directly, how should they get to you?
Read, READ, at culturally lit, culturally with a K, culturallylit.org.
That's the only place to get to? That's what you want to share.
Read at culturallylit.org.
So with this, and in closing, I appreciate your time. So this is Dr. DJ Podcast. I mean, we do unscripted dialogues, sponsored by LGBG. But also, I think it becomes important as we're kind of building on the episode that we're in right now, focusing on process and development. And I think you've been someone who's always been a process person for
Thank
me
you.
and developing one's holistic perspective
My honor.
and experience. And so it is with great pleasure that I appreciate you coming out. And we hope everyone enjoys their time. And next time.
Peace out.